What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Community Farm Alliance podcast. I'm your host for the Blackberry series. My name is Von Barnes, and I have with me today Judy Greene-Baker out of Richmond, Kentucky, from Lisle-Cunningham Farm and Property. We met on the third day of the Black Farmers Conference out in Lexington, Kentucky, where she was telling me about her steers. Isn't that right? Steers? So, Judy, go ahead. Take it away from here. Tell me about these steers that you have, not cows, but steers.
Hi, Vaughn. Nice to be with you today. This year we have 29 Black Angus steers. And a steer is not a cow. It's not a bull, but it is a castrated male calf. And we got them at the first of the month. They weigh about 600 pounds apiece, and they'll stay all summer eating grass on our farm as we rotate them from paddock to paddock, and hopefully just about gain about 300 to 400 pounds.
So with the grass fed compared to the grain fed, what's the difference in taste?
The difference is very different. If you're not familiar with it, I would suggest that you do try it in the grocery store first. It has a very fresh taste. Most people are familiar with grain finished beef, meaning that they have been with a feedlot for approximately 60 to 90 days, and they have more fat. A grass-fed beef is less fat, and it's higher in omega-3, so it's really much more healthy for you.
And when you say grass-fed, is it just strictly grass, nothing else? Only grass, no pellets, none of that?
Well, we do have to actually feed them minerals, because animals on your farm are just like people. You want to make sure that they are healthy, because the end product is healthier for humans. So they are fed their required minerals, which is like vitamins. And so they do have that. We do give them about a little bit of grain, and that's only to make them come up so we can count them, make sure that they're healthy, nothing sick, no disease. But we do not feed them anything other than their predominant diet is 100% grass. 99.9% of their diet is grass.
Okay, so now this leads me to ask a lot of questions about what the type of grass, how much space you have, what they need just to survive in a grass-only diet, and those types of things. So my first question is, if it's only grass, what type of grass?
Well, you have legumes like alfalfa, we have orchard grass, and we have fescue. These are called pasture grasses. It's not like your front yard. They are specifically for animals, and it's healthy for them. They grow very fast, and they repeat themselves. I mean, if the animal eats the grass today and it's say down to 6 inches, in less than a month, it'll double in size. So that grass grows very fast, and it's very healthy for the animals. Also, the animals need approximately 2 acres per animal, and we have 46 acres here. We do rotate them. As I told you, we have small paddocks that are 5 to 6 acres each. And then the animals are divided up into 2 groups. One has 14 in it, the other has 15. And so they stay in a paddock approximately 1 week to 10 days. Then they're rotated to another section. So they're always getting fresh grass and the best of the grass that we have to offer, or nature has to offer. An animal will gain approximately 1.5 pounds a day on this kind of diet.
All right, one more time. You said it would gain 1.5 pounds a day? Like, did I hear you correctly?
A day on grass.
Wow.
They also have a lot of water. Cattle do need water. They have each one of them drinks 8 gallons per day.
Do you have a pond?
Water, they even drink more. They also require shade. They're a lot like people. They like it cool, and they get up and graze early in the morning, and then they rest all day and do what's called chew their cud. which you've probably heard that before. And then they get up again late in the afternoon and eat again and drink lots of water.
Now, in order for them to drink all the water that they do you have a pond that they like go to the pond, or they have like the real big tubs that they drink out of the big tubs?
Each of our paddocks has its own water source. Of the 6 fields we have, 3 of them are hooked to city water. So they have a Ritchie water in the field. The other 3 are pond water. The cattle actually prefer city water like we do because it's cool and refreshing, and that's what they prefer. And but they will drink pond water, and it does come out of a big tub, and it's fresh for them, especially the city water. When they drink on it, it refills kind of like a water fountain, and then the pond water is gravity fed, and it's always available to them, and at their leisure they drink water.
Now, out of curiosity, do you name them all?
No, they are not pets. They are part of our business. We do not name them, but they have ear tags, and their ear tags are for 2 reasons. One is for flies, to keep the flies out of their face. In this part of the United States, we have a tremendous problem with flies. And so flies give our beef cattle conjunctivitis, the same thing that people get, pink eye. Which is not good for them. And so we use ear tags to keep the flies out of their eyes. And then we have numbers on the ear tag. So each animal is referred to by its number.
Got you. Now, when you compare grass-fed to grain-fed beef, what are the stages that a cow has to go through if they go into grain? Like, start from the beginning of, or not cow, a steer. What are the stages that a steer would have to go through from baby steer to big finished steer?
All right. Well, we would start with a cow-calf operation. Some farmers do that. That means they have mama cows, and then they have their baby calves. So that's the first type of farm there is a cow-calf operation. There are many of those out there, and people can choose the type of animal that they like, whether it be Angus or Hereford or whatever kind. So there's a cow-calf operation. Those farmers would normally keep their cattle or the young calves up until by weight to about 450 to 550 pounds. And then they are sold to stockers. Stockers are people like myself, those who purchase cattle in the spring, like March, April, and keep them all the way to November, walking around eating grass. And then we hope to get their weight from the beginning up to about 950 pounds. And then from there, they are sold on to individuals if they would like grain-fed beef, or they can be sold at a local market. And then they would go on to a grain finishing area where they would stay 60 to 90 days, and then on to a meat processing plant, then to the grocery store.
So when we get stuff in the grocery store and it has the marbly texture to it, that's not your product. Your product.
Correct. My animals do have some fat, but it's very, very lean. And a lot of times fat is the flavor that people enjoy. And so that's why you see in the grocery store 80% lean, 95% lean, 70%. You can taste a difference in the flavors if you've ever used those various kinds. And that has a lot to do with the fat content.
Did you know that CFA is a nonprofit organization that supports family farms, equity work, food access, and policy work across Kentucky? If you're interested in supporting any of this work, please go to cfaky.org and go to our Donate tab in order to donate or become a member today. We really appreciate any and all help that we get, and it goes back to helping both farmers and consumers across the Bluegrass State. For more information, go to www.cfaky.org. Once again, that's www.cfaky.org. Thank you. And now back to our show.
This is the Blackberry series. I have to ask this question. What berry best represents Judy or Lisle-Cunningham Farm and Properties?
Well, I think my berry is a strawberry because I'm really sweet, but I have a lot of different varieties and I'm into a lot of different things. Beef cattle just happens to be one of them. We do have a high tunnel. We're trying to do some seed growing and saving for a seed company. And we have a garden. We're also Kentucky proud. And we do have authorization for a roadside market for our vegetables.
Oh, nice. What vegetables did you start this year?
Well, right now, the tomatoes are already started, the lettuce, the broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. And just the other day, when we looked out there, the heads of cabbage are just starting to make little heads.
And do you typically have a lot of people coming to the house to buy and pick their fruits and vegetables, or do they get to buy their beef there as well?
We do not typically have a lot of people. This is only our 4th year, and we're really getting started in trying to build our business. We also have a problem that we are a small farm with only 29 head of beef, and it's very, very difficult with the limited number of slaughterhouses to be able to get your beef in year round. They prefer much, much larger number of cattle coming into their facility. So it's very difficult. And also slaughterhouses have specific times of year that they slaughter different types of animals. It would be beef, and then they will close and sanitize the area. Then they would do pork, and they will close and sanitize the area. Then they will do wild animals such as deer, etc., that kind of thing. They'll close, and then they have poultry that they do as well. USDA requires that they be cleaned in between, and so there's some limited windows of opportunity of when you can do that. And so I do have some requests for beef, and I am trying to work with those individuals, but it's sometimes difficult. And we're hoping that in the future, we'll be able to get some mobile meat processing units in this area so that we can meet people's needs and desires of how they would like their meat processed.
Now, 29 to me is not a small number for the size of the animal. That seems like a really, really large number. What would be a large operation if, in your dream world, what would be the large operation for Lisle-Cunningham Farm?
Well, for us, the most that we could ever have is 35 stocker cattle. If we had a cow and calf operation that stayed on the farm year round, the most we could have would be probably right at 24.
Okay.
So that would be 23 cows and 1 bull.
Wow. And is that because land and having to ship them around and move them around on the property? I got you.
Yes, it has to do with what is required for the amount of land to be able to take care of an animal in the manner in which is healthiest for the animal and healthiest for the product at the end when you sell it. Right.
And that makes complete sense. Now,
that's required 2 acres for each animal.
Say that one more time.
It requires 2 acres per animal to keep them year round.
Gotcha.
Now, we are considered a very small farm. I did some research with the extension office in Madison County. We have almost 2,000 farmers. of that number, only 22 of them are African American. And we have some very large farms. Some are over 1,000 acres. And we have some very small farms, way down from 1 acre to 9. So the average size of a farm in Madison County is 194 acres. But of course, those outliers, like the little small farms and the ones that are 1,000 acres, really do kind of skew the numbers a little bit. But most of them are somewhere between 100 and 250 acres. So we're considered a small farm.
Wow. I did not realize that. 2,000 farmers in Madison County, but 29 are African American.
Only 22.
22. Got you. Wow. So less than 1%, or just about 1%.
Very, very low, yes. Many of the African American farms that were here a generation before mine are now gone. Either the people didn't have any children, or when you grow up on a farm, the one thing you think about is, I don't want to be on a farm, is because of the work. It requires work. As a child, we would get up in the morning and do whatever chores needed to be done, go to school, and then come home in the afternoon, and there are other chores that need to be done. If you're from the city, as we say, or town, then you go to school, you come home and you play all day, and so you don't have those responsibilities. So most people back in my generation went to college and decided to do something else. Many of the family farms that belong to African Americans have been lost. They've been purchased, and that's what has created those thousands of acre farms that we have.
Wow. Okay. So here's a question. Have you recently, since the conference, have you seen a change or a shift in the amount of people that want to be in agriculture?
I have seen, maybe it's because of some of the alliances and groups that I have joined. I see that there is a great interest in continuing the family farm and in encouraging other African Americans to go back to the farm. A lot of times you will find that there's air property sitting out there somewhere, and somebody might want to come back and start farming. So I would think that maybe just my joining those groups has made me more aware of how many farmers there are out there. And certainly the urban farmers, we're asking them to come along and join us, because people who live in the city can still get fresh fruits and vegetables just out of their backyards. And certainly in some of the low income neighborhoods, it would be a great way to be able to provide fresh fruits and vegetables for them and their neighbors, because many areas are a food desert when it comes to a grocery store in their area.
Now, what are some of the benefits do you see with having a farm in Madison County and its proximity to Richmond and other cities that are close by?
Well, certainly we're centrally located, and it's easy for us. We're just probably about 5 miles from the interstate. So it's easy for us to be able to get to all the other locations. We have our Black Farmers Conferences, and we have other alliances that are helpful to us to be able to get our products out. So right now, being in Madison County is just a central location, and it makes it really easy for us. And we also have a great interest in this county and surrounding counties for fresh fruit and vegetables. And we also have the farmers market. I have not done the farmers market, but we have lots of CSAs, which are community based, and you take a box of fresh food to them. And we have lots of farmers markets, so we can send our produce there.
Kentucky Double Dollars, a program of Community Farm Alliance supporting Kentucky farmers and families with over $300,000 in nutrition benefits matched in 2021. For more information or to find a location near you, visit www.kentuckydoubledollars.org.
Have you experienced any difficulties starting your business as a farmer, be it through USDA or any other organizations that kind of put up barriers for the progress of what you're trying to do as a Black farmer?
I have personally been helped greatly by USDA. What I did when I came back, I'm a retired military person. And when I came back home, when I say back home, back to the farm per se, my mother was ill. So I took care of her. And then in staying here on the farm with her, we decided that it would be, why we've got all this land, why don't we grow something? Why don't we have beef cattle? And so I went to USDA to find out how I can better utilize the land. I know that it's not your daddy's farm anymore, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. And so the Farm Service Agency helped me with realizing what my father had done in the past. And then I went to the NRCS group and I said, I would like to farm, but I don't know what it is I want to do. And so one of their representatives came out and asked me again, what was I trying to do? And with that, I said, I think I want to do beef cattle because that's what my dad had done. And with that, once he understood what I was trying to do, he made all these suggestions and was able to find funding streams for me to be able to put up fences, create the paddocks, add the water to the fences, and those kinds of things. Of course, they are 50-50 grants, so nothing is free. But if I was willing to put my money in, they were willing to help me. So right now, I have approximately 17 individuals out on my farm today, and they're in a training class, and they're learning about stewardship. And my farm is being evaluated for conservation stewardship program to see if we can try to take it to another level in terms of trying to do a good job with the land and a good job with the animals.
Okay.
So I cannot say that there are barriers for me, but I do think that the most important thing is that we have to be advocates for ourselves. I go up to NRCS probably once or twice a month, maybe even once a week. And then I've learned about the programs that are available, and I make sure that I know which programs will help me, what it is that I'm trying to do, and then when is the window open for me to apply. One year I applied and I didn't get any money at all. And so I went up to the office and I said, I don't understand. I'm working really hard. He told me this is what I need to do. And then I get this letter that says I'm not approved for any funding. And so what I found out was there is a way to rate each farm. And that rating scale is how it's determined whether or not you will receive funding. Things that I didn't know about. I was not a member of Kentucky Proud. You get points for that. I was not a member of the Kentucky or the Madison County Beef Association. You get points for that. I hadn't done some of the classes that I needed to do. I could do them online or in person. You get points for that. There's a water quality survey that needs to be done online. It's quite lengthy, but it's not hard to do. But I finished that. So by the second year, when I applied and I saw how the rating system worked, I was funded because I understood how it really worked. I couldn't just go up there and ask for money and expect it to be given to me. I needed to understand the program. And I think a lot of people miss that. They want the help, they need the help, but they haven't properly understood the program. And sometimes they miss the window of opportunity or the time to sign up.
Are there any other tips or tricks of the trade that you found out that would make the road easier for a person like me that wants Highland cattle? No, wait, was it steers? I want steers, right?
A
Not
steer.
that,
A steer.
yes.
Two.
Okay, one steer, a steer, one cow. But for a person like me that wants Highland cows, I would need to, what are the tips that I would need?
I would say to you, the very first thing you need to do is find a mentor, because I believe that I have been doing this for 4 or 5 years. I want to share with you so that you don't have to go through what I did. I can tell you about how much space. I can tell you what the price of animals are. I can tell you where to find information. I can tell you who sells what or where you can go to find that. And I think that information and the sharing and finding a mentor is really important, because why should you make the same mistakes I did when I can save you years of time and trouble? I think it's important too for you to visit what it is you're trying to do, because sometimes we don't always understand what is involved. And I think if you have goats, and typically they love to get out, you have to have good fences. So you have to prepare yourself for what it is that you want. And I think you can learn those things very quickly from a mentor. And I do think that many African-American farmers, or farmers in general, would be glad to sit down with you and mentor you. I'm not trying to slow anybody down. I'm just trying to level the road so you don't have to hit some bumps along the way. It would be awful for you to get 10 Highland cattle that are kind of very expensive, and then it doesn't work for you.
Makes sense.
What are you going to do with them? So my tip is find a mentor, call a friend. And I think you can use the people that you are speaking with, and you can use NRCS, you can use Farm Service Agency. But if you don't get the answers that you want, keep asking. Don't go out there and spend a lot of money and get discouraged, because we want you to be in farming. We want you to be in touch with the earth. And I think there's great joy in putting your fingers in the dirt.
Well, I can tell you exactly what I want with my Highland cattle. I want to sit there and brush their hair and brush it all down on the sides and make them look real cool and nice. So when I have them and I present them and I show them, people come by and say, dang, I like that cow. And take a picture of my pretty cow and stand by my cow and look cool standing by my cow. I'm not going to eat them. I see what happened with Tatum. When I talked to Tatum last time, he told me what happened to him. I don't want that problem. What the problem I want to have is so many people want to take pictures of my cow because my cow looks so cool. That's what I want. The ones that the hair is so long they can't even see. It's just horns and then fur. That's what I want. So
well, that's wonderful, but you also want to be a good steward of the animal that you have. And so you need to understand what that animal's needs are and be willing to provide those for those needs.
Brushing his hair or her hair is definitely one of them.
Wonderful, but they also need minerals, certain amount of space.
Yes, that part too. Because
Yeah,
I would not put a cow in my backyard.
I can just see you walking your cow down the street so they get some.
I totally would try to put a cow inside the back of a trailer, drive it out to like the park, and then sit there with a cow on like some type of like facial harness and walk around, and everybody, man, what are you doing with this cow? Bringing it to go eat. It's grazing right now. And then when I'm done, I'm going back home. We got to chill for 2 hours. We go out, we chill, he eats, I watch him, he eats for 2 hours. That's how we spend our days. That'll take a lot of work. 365 days of going to bring the cow to the park?
Well, you have to bring them twice. I told you they eat twice a day, early morning and late afternoon. So you'll have to bring them twice.
So I've been on a farm where I've seen guests get on the farm, they purchased the cow, and then they butchered the cow on the farm. I was told that is something that you can do in the state of Kentucky. I can't butcher a cow for you, but you can buy a cow and then butcher it yourself. Does that work the same on your farm?
You can do that, but I do not do that at this point. What I have done is I have spoken with a friend of mine who has butchering experience, and he tells me that if I would like that done, he would come over to the farm, but I personally do not do that at this time.
Perfect. Now, if there are any other tips, tricks, messages, words of encouragement that you want to send out to the listening or viewing audience, because some people might be listening on the streaming platform, some people might be watching on YouTube or Facebook. Is there anything that you would want to tell them, words of encouragement?
I guess my final words of wisdom would be just to hang in there. You know, farming is very, very nature dependent. And so there are going to be good years and there are going to be bad years. And so I think the joy has to come in what you feel with your connection with your animals, with the land, and being a good steward of what God has given you. So just hang in there and be patient with what you have, what your thoughts are. You really can start with a very small area, and if making money is your desire, you can do that. But if it's just living on the land and existing yourself, you can do that as well, more like a homestead. But hang in there and bring your children, bring your grandchildren, bring everybody you know back to the farm, because milk doesn't come from a grocery store. You know, vegetables don't come from a grocery store. They come from nature, and they come with someone who cares about the land and cares about good food. And so we need to teach our children so that they will want to be more interested, and maybe they'll want to come back to the farm.
All right, everybody, we're about to wrap up this episode, but remember, and always remember, real change comes from the ground up. Until next time, peace.